So today we have a first look of this IEMs here. This is the Aura Audio, and this version is actually the Neon Pro. Currently the Neon Pro is not up for sales, but Aura Audio just loaned me a set to bring you this first impression of this IEM. Now this IEM, currently they are not too sure whether it will make it back to the shop or not. That's something pending for them. The Neon Pro is a mid to small size IEM, as you can see here. Not very big, not very small. It has a jut out connector. This is 0.78, and the bore is actually a mid-size bore. So there is 3 holes here. You can see on the video itself. Now the notable thing is that there is a switch, and this switch can be used to change the sound slightly. I have yet to extensively play with it, so I'll actually bring you in this first impression how it sounds like. One thing to note is that the shape is relatively distinct. You can see this jut out here. So depending on your ear, this may or may not be very comfortable. It depends on you. Faceplate is pretty nice. You can see here, very nice and holographic. It's a bit flat though. Other than that, it is still pretty nice. As I said, Aura Audio has not listed this on the site yet. For what I understand, this is about $650 USD in the past, so the price may change, especially if they released it. So that's about it. Let's try out with some songs today. Now the cables that they gave is the Athena cable here. This is the Athena cable. It's an upgrade cable, not the default one. I'll just try it together with the Neon Pro to see how it sounds. As with all my first impressions, I will have 2 songs followed by another 2 songs of comparison. The IEM I'll be comparing with will be the U4S from Audio 64. Price range wise, that's a little bit higher than this IEM, but it is pretty close, and I just want to see how's the performance like with this versus the U4S. So for the first song, I'll be using Backlight by Vonde. This is the male version. Let's take a listen, and then I'll give you my very first impression on the Neon Pro. The ear tip I'll be using will be the Elitech Baroque, as you can see here. So let's have a listen to how it sounds like. So I have listened to the song Backlight, and I just want to comment on the switches first. The switch, to me at least, when I on it, it seems to be a bit more diffuse in the mids, and when I off it, it seems to be a bit more focused in the mids. Did it change any part of the other frequencies? It seems to be very mild. I cannot actually hear much other difference other than the slight change in how the mids are rendered. So for this particular review, I will just keep the switch on because that's what I enjoy a bit more, which is the slightly diffused mids rather than the very focused ones. Now, in terms of the sound itself, I would say as with it on, at least, it feels relatively open. It doesn't feel so close and congested, but the soundstage doesn't feel very big. In terms of clarity, I think it's pretty clear. I do feel like at the start of, let's say, Vonde's Backlight, there is a few electric guitar. Now, the actual rendition of those electric guitar are fine, but I do feel like the details are not as prominent in this IEM itself. It's like not in your face. Now when it comes to the bass, I do think that the bass is punchy, but the quality itself don't feel that much. It feels okay, not too much, not too little type of quantity. So if you are looking for heavy bass, this probably don't cut it for you. Now when it comes to the treble, I think there is good amount of treble energy. It's very clear, though I don't find them extremely sparkly or anything, so it's pretty much like a just nice kind of treble, not too much, not too little. And in terms of extension of the treble, I also don't think that they are very, very extended. They are extended, it still feels nice, but because this is Vonde's song, so not much air to it. I don't think that there is any significant standout when it comes to the treble energy itself. Mids wise, I do think that with the switch on, it feels a bit more diffuse, and the mids just open up a little bit, so it doesn't feel as close in and at times congested if I was to push the switch down. At least that's how I feel, things just get pushed together slightly. While opening it up allows I'll say as the instruments and the vocals to just separate a little bit more, making it a bit clearer, a little bit better. Now that is my first impression using Vonde's Backlight. Now I will use another song, and this time I'll go back to Eido's Ibarra, and then I'll give you guys a first impression. Now listening to Ibarra, I will just say that firstly there's quite a bit of sub bass here. There's quite some sub bass, but the mid bass itself, not too much. It's not very impactful. There is mid bass, but not high in quantity. Now when it comes to the mids and stuff, it still feels a bit more closed in. It doesn't feel like it's opened up a lot, so slightly more of a closed in sound, at least for the mids itself. For Ibarra, normally there is some sibilance, and this IEM has no sibilance, so in the mid-highs and high region, it's pretty okay. It also doesn't sound very hot. There are cymbals in this song. It feels pretty much just nice, you know. What I mean by that is that it doesn't have that extreme extension you get in a lot of the high-end IEMs where there's like excessive amount of air, which can be enjoyable, depends on what you like, but this one feels a little bit more normal sounding. Now, normal sounding may not be what everybody wants, so it really depends on your flavor. I do have to say the soundstage is a bit small, in the small to mid-size kind of area. I would not say that it is in the mid to large size, so that is something I have, at least for the first impression itself. And really that's it. You know, I want to compare it with the U4S, which I have on hand here for my next song, and then I can give you guys a better understanding. I mean, the U4S is quite well known, many reviewers has done it, so I will use it to compare so that you guys know roughly where the Neon Pro stands. Now for this comparison, I'll be using Aino Akuruhi, and that's a little bit more on the airy side at the start and followed by a lot of power in the mids, so let's have a listen. So with this comparison, I just want to say some things first. Now, many things still hold. I do feel like the Neon Pro has less bass. The bass is there, but it's not a lot in quantity, and you know, when you compare the U4S, it is even more distinct. The U4S does have more bass. So I did say that the Neon Pro also doesn't have very extended treble, and it seems that's the case because with the U4S, it does feel like the U4S does have a lot more air and extension, while the Neon Pro does feel like it's rounding off the treble quite a bit. But that said, this is where the biggest difference is, and it also will affect how you want to purchase. When it comes to the mids themselves, the Neon Pro mids are really forward in comparison to U4S. You know, the Neon Pro really has that powerful mids itself that is very distinct and in front. It does make the U4S sound a little bit more laid back in the mids. However, there is some trade-off here. These powerful frontal mids does make the soundstage a little bit smaller, and it does make the whole sound a little bit more like focused in the middle, while the U4S does spread it out. So when it comes to soundstage, the U4S does have that soundstage, while the Neon Pro doesn't have that. And if you listen to both of them side by side, you really notice the difference in tuning, where I feel that the Neon Pro does push the mids a little bit more forward, while the U4S is going for either a V or U-shaped type of sound, where there is good amount of bass and good amount of treble extension with a relatively flat and a little bit more laid-back mids in comparison to the Neon Pro. So the difference of rendition is significant. Now when it comes to clarity, I do find that the clarity depends on which region. The mids region, I'd say that Neon Pro is slightly better, but in the highs region, because of the extension you hear in the U4S, the highs do feel a little bit more crisp and a little bit more detailed in the U4S versus the Neon Pro itself. The bass wise, I think they are about the same, though I do have to say that the sub bass rumble itself, when there is, you know, the Neon Pro does feel like it has slightly more texture, but the U4S have more, I would say, quantity itself. Not definitive yet. This is my first impression of them. Let's hear one more song that has bass, and you know, I can give you a more definitive answer. So for the second song, I'll be using Yusha from YOASOBI. This one has quite a bit of bass, very punchy, a lot of sub bass. Let's take a listen with both of them. So I've heard the song The Brave or Yusha from YOASOBI for both of these IEM. I just want to say something first, that the Neon Pro, the bass wise, definitely lesser in quantity, but it does have slightly more speed, and also I would say it's a bit more texture. So when Yusha, in this song, there's a lot of bass, there's thumping. You can hear the thumping and the rhythm of the thumping plus the texture of the thumping on the Neon Pro a little bit easier than the U4S. The U4S just have bass. It's like boom, 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 rumbly bass, but the Neon Pro is a little bit more controlled, and there is just a little bit more texture there that you can appreciate in the bass region. However, the quantity of the bass is still lesser, so if you are bass head and you just want bass, the U4S kicks Neon Pro's butt. But if you are looking for quality and you want that texture itself, the Neon Pro is better in that regards. Now when it comes to the mids, well, same thing. The mids is more forward on the Neon Pro. It does have more power in front, but it does make the overall sound a little bit smaller, while the U4S is a bit more relaxed and a little bit more open up throughout the mids itself, making instruments a little bit more distinct, while the Neon Pro actually just crumb everything together a little bit. So it depends on which kind of flavor you want in terms of how you want to render the mids itself. Do you want a bit more forward but a bit more closed up mids, or do you want a bit more dispersed mids, and the U4S do give you that quality versus the Neon Pro, which gives you a little more focus. And there are people who like focus mids. At least for me, I'm not the biggest lover of it, so that's something to note. So when it comes to treble, I think that, you know, the Neon Pro is a little bit more balanced tuning, not V-shaped style like the U4S. So when it comes to treble, it's never hot. You know, it will never get too hot. When the cymbals crash and stuff, details are there, it never gets too hot. However, when it comes to the extension of the cymbals, I do feel like the U4S give you that little bit more air there, a little more excitement and air there. But it is on, to me, the border of getting too hot and too spicy. The Neon Pro may be for people who are very sensitive to treble and wants a bit more tame treble. It does give you that quality itself. You know, it does have all the details, all the sound there. It just doesn't have the extreme extension nor the extreme spiciness when, you know, when the cymbal crash, then there's this very hot sound. It's not so strong on the Neon Pro itself. It does make the whole song a little more bearable if you are playing a very treble heavy song. Now, The Brave is not a treble heavy song, but there's one portion that there is a lot of this cymbal crashing, and you can hear the details a little bit better on the Neon Pro at the same mids level volume. Now, if you do lower the volume a little bit on the U4S, you can hear all the details there. It's just that for me, I'm a bit treble sensitive, so the Neon Pro do give me the details without lowering the mids themselves. So overall, what do I feel about the Neon Pro itself? Now, do I think the Neon Pro is better than the U4S? I don't think it is better. It is like different and probably in the same category. Because of the quality of sound. The sound quality, the details are there, the clarity is there, the end-to-end when it comes to the... is there any weird frequencies? No, it doesn't have that. But it is tuned in such a way that makes soundstage a little bit smaller. It makes the whole thing a bit closer together, a bit more forward to your face. And if you are the type that are looking for a lot more dynamics and bass, this doesn't give you that. This does give you a lot more like details and textures, especially in the bass region. And in the highs, the same thing again. If you are looking for the occasional spicy and hotness that treble should give you, this doesn't give you too. And if you're looking for a lot of air in female vocals, this doesn't give you. But what it does give you is a very balanced sound that is very easy to listen across multiple tracks. And overall, you know, if you ask me, generally powerful sounding, clear sounding, and balanced sounding. So is that for everybody? I mean, it depends. You know, this reminds me a little bit of the Sophia's RSVs and RS10s. Okay, the RS10 is a bit too flat, but this is like somewhere between both of them. It does have more clarity than the RSV based on my memory, but you know, it is a little bit more flatter, a bit more, I'll say, as even throughout all its frequencies. Very similar to the RS10 itself. And to me, that kind of frequencies can be good for listening to certain tracks like orchestra stuff where there is already a lot of dynamics in the sound itself. But for listening to modern pop songs, it can feel a bit flat to me, at least to me itself. But that being said, nothing to fault about this IEM. I mean, for the price of 650 USD, based on what I see online, it is pretty competitive. At least it's pretty competitive with the U4S. You must note that the U4S costs a lot more. If you're looking at the US price, this is like 1,001, this is like 650. It costs like $400-500 more. So the fact that, you know, you can still compare them and there's some give, especially in terms of soundstage, in terms of dynamics, I think it's fine because it does give you a very different rendition and a very balanced sound that is more easy to listen for most tracks, while the U4S can get a little bit too hot and a little bit too bassy in certain tracks itself. So it really depends, right? But that said, this is not listed on All Audio site today, so if you are interested to get one, maybe email them and check out whether they want to sell you or not, because I have no idea when will this be back again. And if you are the type that looking for a more mid-sounding type of IEM without that elevated treble and bass, a bit more even and balanced, I think this is the IEM for you. And this is actually one of the good IEMs of this price range if you're looking for that kind of sound, because, you know, it's still very clear and not congested and still very nice and balanced. That's about it for today. I hope you enjoyed this short little first look, and I will see you guys again. Bye bye.